Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Weaver.
Here.
Mr. Pennington.
Here.
Mr. Sproles.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
And Mr. Schuman.
Here. Thank you. Next order of business is approval of the minutes of the July 25th, 2022 regular meeting. I assume everybody's had the opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion that they be approved as submitted.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next order of business is public comment. I don't think anybody has signed up. Is there anybody here that wishes to make comment on something not on the agenda? Okay, if not, the next order of business is certificate of appropriateness. Grofers, Joel Jerkins, 586 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24211, owner, Jessica Cook, Jerry Signs and Awnings, representative. Certificate of appropriateness for signage and awning repair located at 586 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24211, tax map, parentheses 007-3-9 in parentheses. Staff report.
Gabriel Christopher, Town of Abingdon. So yes, the request is from Joel Jerkins, owner/applicant, and Jessica Cook, representative. They've requested approval of certificate of appropriateness in the entrance corridor for signs and awning repair located at 586 East Main Street. The property is within the general business zoning district, B2, and is within the entrance corridor. Some background information. The subject property contains approximately 0.663 acres. And the new business, Grofers, is located where the U-Haul facility was formerly located. Access will continue to be East Main Street, and the adjoining properties on three sides are zoned B2, which are the general business district. Then to the south is a parcel zoned M1, the limited industrial district. So if we go to staff findings, the previously approved at the March 28, 2022, oval-shaped signs will be attached to an existing 9-foot, 7-inch wooden post, bringing the total height of the existing post and sign to 13 feet 4 inches. The signs themselves measure 87.5 inches across and 44 inches tall, equaling 26.7 square feet. The two proposed signs will be wooden and have a white background with green lettering. Other colors included in the signs is design are blue, red, and yellow. A freestanding sign's allowable square footage is 60 square feet, and the maximum height is 15 feet. A new metal sign located at the front of the building, centered over the existing awning, will measure 3 feet by 9 feet, equaling 27 square feet. The structure's front elevation roughly measures to 48 feet, making the total allowable square footage for a sign placed at this location on the north elevation to be 96 square feet. The proposed metal sign will match the previously approved wooden signs in design. Lastly, the existing awning is in need of repair and a new covering, as you can see as it's currently seen on August 8th. The applicant is proposing to repair the existing metal awning frame and cover the frame with a new green cover with a white horizontal strip around the entire length of the awning. Staff conditions: if the Planning Commission decides to approve the certificate of appropriateness, staff has no suggested conditions for approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Does the applicant wish to make any presentations? Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant based on what? Okay, thank you. Any additional?
The picture that is proposed, and Mr. Weaver brought this to my attention, looks like you've got signs on the fencing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we're putting the signs up to kind of add some privacy to the back part of the property. They're point of sale tarps that different suppliers give us. they're nice, I mean, they're pretty, and we're gonna do something to kind of shadow that back lot. To keep people as they
What
walk
exactly
by.
is on those? Is there lettering, what's,
It's the outside of, their, like, what are they for? They're like,
I mean, there's
Bag,
point
like bags of
sale, like-
soil. It was
Yeah,
The
like,
bags of
different kinds
soil,
of
the
stuff,
same picture,
fertilizer.
they put it on a
Yeah.
big awning, you know, the ones we've got now are probably 5-6 feet by 5-6 feet. And they're nice, durable, like, not awning material, what's the word I'm looking, like vinyl, like a vinyl sign. That would fit, adhere to the fence and add some privacy.
But you said it was advertisement? Is it like an advertisement?
Like it is with an
Okay.
advertisement. Sorry, I should turn this on.
so yeah, that actually was not part of the calculation that was done, so,
I think there was a little bit more information that Jess sent over for that. I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you might have received it beforehand. I don't know if you guys had that. She had to go get little man today, so you get me instead of Jessica.
Well, I mean, is that a freestanding, is that a wall sign, is that,
Well,
it would be considered a wall sign, so you're really not allowed to have all of those.
Okay, we will put the signs, but we still want to do something in the fence to create a barrier, a slight barrier between that, even if it's the little lace that goes in a chain link fence.
So that's
Whatever
a
that-
chain link fence.
It is, so
Yeah.
whatever needs to happen, I do want to shadow that back, line of sight.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a chain link fence on either side and everything's visible straight through it. But, you know, for product safety.
additional questions?
I mean, what would be the appropriate screening on that?
I mean, they could cover it with just about anything, honestly, but not advertisement.
Okay.
What square footage are we at with the existing sign? Say, because we're talking about the awning, do you guys count the Grow Harvest and Views as advertising as well?
Yeah, so you really only you get one canopy sign, so
Mhm.
that's what the Grow, Harvest, and Fuse would be.
Okay.
You get one wall sign, so that's what your grofer along the top would be.
Okay.
And then that's kind of where it ends.
Okay.
So we can't do the lettering on the windows.
Yeah,
That
they
is
don't-
okay, but that's interior, it's not
Right.
something that we look at, yeah.
Right, right.
You're talking about outside the building. I got you.
Yeah.
And then your freestanding is the
Main sign.
other one, yeah.
And what is the current allotment of square footage for what's proposed?
You had, you said this, let's see. The new metal sign located over the existing awning is 27 square feet. Let's see. So that's your wall sign is 27 square feet. You're actually allowed 2 square feet for every 1 lineal feet of building face.
Okay.
But you're only allowed 1, so it still
Right.
doesn't really.
Okay.
It's just the number
Right.
is all.
No, no, no,
I
you're
mean,
fine.
your square footage is one thing, the number
Right.
is the other.
Right, right. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion? Assume we could approve the signs without the additional signs on the fencing that.
Just a solid
proposed.
color or something like that.
Hmm?
Just make it a solid color covering the chain link with no advertisement.
Yeah, I mean, I think all you'd have to say is that there couldn't be advertisement, you know. I think that would take care of the square foot issue.
Well, given that understanding, then I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness.
With the caveat that the signs on the chain link fence not be advertisements, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay,
Just a privacy fence, or
right,
Yes, sir.
privacy barrier, whatever you would call it.
Yeah. Second.
okay. Any additional discussion? All right, Ms. Rice, if you would call the roll.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Pennington?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you guys. See y'all later.
Thank you.
Okay, the next order of business is Certificate of Appropriateness, My Country Doctor, Raymond Faber, 468 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Owner, Jessica Cook, Jerry Signs and Awnings, Representative. Certificate of Appropriateness for signage located at 468 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Tax map, parentheses 014-6-1 in parentheses. Staff report.
Yeah, so Raymond Faber, owner/applicant, and Jessica Cook, representative, have requested an approval of an entrance quarter certificate of appropriateness for signage located at 468 East Main Street. The property is located in a general business zoning district, B2. Some background information. The subject property is located in a shopping plaza with a number of other structures. Shopping plaza contains approximately 1.676 acres. The proposed tenant sign on the Johnson Center tenant structure will be taking the place of a tenant sign for Keen Profit and Company, PC, certified public accountants. The sign appeared at once to be located at the top of the black metal pole located at the west end of the property. Access to the site will continue to be East Main Street. The adjoining properties on three sides are zoned B2, General Business District, and to the north is a parcel zoned R3, which is a residential parcel. If we flip to the staff findings, the proposed freestanding sign hung from the existing black metal pole located at the west end of the property will be framed aluminum and double-sided with graphics applied directly. Both sign faces will wrap around an aluminum frame, giving the sign a dimensional appearance, whereas simultaneously providing additional strength. The proposed freestanding sign measures 3 feet by 5 feet, equaling 15 square feet. The total allowable square footage for a freestanding sign in a B2 zone is 60 square feet. Design-wise, the proposed sign has a white background with black lettering. A tenant sign will be attached to the existing tenant structure, replacing the existing tenant sign for Keen Profit and Company, PC, certified public accountants. The design characteristics of the tenant sign matches those of the freestanding sign. The application did not propose any illumination, so we're not thinking there's going to be any illumination for either of the signs. And staff has no suggested conditions of approval.
All right, any questions?
How is the tenant sign classified? Is that a freestanding or?
Yeah, but we've always kind of, if it's a tenant sign and done that, so we've always let them replace with that, so.
If there's an existing tenant sign, we've just replaced like for like.
I know we've done that at, is it the Trigg Building?
Mm-hmm.
Up here.
And then out, where JJ's is on the other end of town, I can't remember what that one's called, but, those are actually rooftop signs that would never be allowed these days, but we also continue to let it be a non-conforming sign.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I guess that's,
Yeah.
okay.
Additional questions or comments? Does the applicant want to make any statement? You have any questions for the folks from Jerry's Signs? If not, what's the pleasure of the commission? Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the signage as presented in the.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any additional discussion? All right, Ms. Rice, if you would call the roll.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Pennington?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
and Mr. Schuman.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next order of business, certificate of appropriateness, Town of Abingdon, Kyle Pollard, 78 Cook Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Applicant, certificate of appropriateness for metal storage building, batting cages, splash pad, and bleachers located at 78 Cook Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Tax map, parentheses, 015-A-39, in parentheses, staff report.
Okay, Myanna Rice. The town of Abingdon is the owner, and Kyle Pollard is our owner's representative tonight, are requesting an approval for a certificate of appropriateness for a splash pad, batting cages, bleachers, and a metal storage building. The property is located at 78 Cook Street, and as we all know, this is where our Meadows Sports Complex currently exists. The project is virtually complete. I'm sure most of you know it's open and is being used. There were several items that I discussed with Kyle regarding their need to go through this process. In general, uses that are within the Meadows complex, which is the Food City area plus the sports complex, are required to go through a certificate of appropriateness. The actual restrictive covenants indicate before physical development of each tract, the owner of said tract shall apply for and receive a certificate of appropriateness from the Town of Abingdon Planning Commission and/or the Town of Abingdon Town Council. So honestly, had this all been approved at the onset, we would not probably be here again tonight. I suggested to Kyle that we put everything that we could in like one application, so he's not coming back for batting cages and coming back for this. As we know, the splash pad is the next thing that's under construction. So a couple of things just as we look through this. The structure that they're proposing is actually for their equipment. He will discuss that further. It is proposed to be screened behind the existing structure that is currently brick. The batting cages, okay, there's the location for the structure. So it'll be completely screened behind this other structure that currently exists. The right-of-way for Cook Street is actually way out here, which I'll show here on a map in a second. So it'll be located right back here. So this is their current brick building, and they're proposing an equipment storage area. As you can see, a lot of equipment ends up not being able to be stored inside the structure. Batting cages, and let me just rotate this if I can. I'm actually not sure if I can rotate this one based on it being in a share file. Batting cages are proposed with the structure. As you can see here, Kyle can get into more detail. Here's the location where they will be built. And we are also looking at the splash pad, which again, most of you have seen some pieces of it. This is what the proposal will look like. And then location. And then finally, these are sample bleachers that they are proposing to put out along the soccer fields where there currently aren't any bleachers.
Those bleachers are the same that they have at the baseball fields now, right?
As far as I know, yes. And so they're proposed to be put along here so that, you know, family and participants can utilize them. So I kind of look at this as, you know, items that could have been included in the original, you know, full proposal had they been completed at that time, but all of these things are extra items that have been proposed since then. So as we all know, the entrance corridor standards are specific to anything that can be seen, and we do have a design requirements in the Meadows restrictive covenants. And so with that, I can try to answer questions. Kyle is here. I think he'd probably be the better person to answer detailed questions about his choice for the items to be identified. And if you want me to flip to these, Kyle, just let me know which one makes the most sense.
and how are you all doing today?
How are you?
I'm
Fine.
doing well. If you all have questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer.
Would this include like other site furnishings like trash cans, flagpoles?
So we
Extra.
have a plan for the flagpoles. I
Okay.
talked to Rick and Lane about that, and that's not part of, like, you don't have to have permission for that.
Okay, good.
But they'll go in front of the White House. Just
Okay.
for you to know. That should be happening in the next
Mhm.
month or so, I hope. And then trash cans, we're getting more of those out as we get them in and learning where people want them to be, and so they don't throw it just on the ground.
Yeah, okay. It'll help, it'll
Yeah,
help.
right.
Myanna, as far as the agreement, as far with Marathon, I would assume there was provision in there specifying what materials must be utilized, temporary storage buildings, things of this nature. And that's a question. I don't know. I haven't seen the agreement, but the equipment shed is a temporary building.
Sure, there is nothing about that in the agreement. So I will read directly into the record. So this says a minimum of 50% of first floor front and side exterior elevations, excluding glass, that are visible from the public right-of-way. So that to me is a big portion of this. Shall be comprised from the following materials: natural clay brick and/or natural quarried stone products. Secondary materials, which may be used up to 40%, include hard stucco, concrete materials, synthetic stucco, fiber cement siding, and other materials as approved by the Abingdon, Virginia Planning Department or their designee. Painted smooth face concrete block, wood, architectural, metal, and/or other materials differing from those used as primary and secondary materials may be utilized in an amount not to exceed 10%. So it does have to go through this review process. Now, it is a bit, I'm saying here's the public right-of-way that basically ends at the roundabout. Google doesn't quite go that far, but it will be behind this structure that is part of the public right-of-way. So
You think this building falls within the intent of the agreement?
I believe that it can fall within the intent of the agreement if you all choose to allow it. I think that the letter of the law could require it to be covered in a brick facade.
And that's what I think.
So, my only heartburn is, it's essentially a cheapo building. Like, I understand, don't have a bottomless pit of money to spend,
Mhm,
but
correct.
I look at what happened at the Coombs Center, it opened in, 94, and then if you go back there now, there's like a hodgepodge of weird little storage buildings that don't match at all and really don't look good. And this isn't they were there long before you were probably even born, but
I understand.
it's just, it's just, it doesn't look good. And we got a brand new facility here, and now we're gonna immediately throw out. Even though it's hidden from people coming in here, I think you probably see it on the interstate.
It would be
Pretty
tough.
clearly.
Tough to see it on the interstate driving
Okay.
by. You would have to like
Maybe,
look behind you.
But anyway, it's just the concept, it seems like we should, if we have this first-class facility, it should be a first-class facility. And it should match somehow. That's just my opinion.
Well, and that's, forgive me. I go back to, what would Food City and Steve Smith, who has been so gracious, what would they think? I agree with Mr. Wilson in that I'd rather leave the equipment outside exposed right now until the town was in a position to build and accompany structure of the same material that would match and be beneficial, be complementary to what's there. That's, I think, as far as public right-of-way, the town owns the parking lot. There are different interpretations about town properties and how those are defined, but that's the way I would interpret that agreement.
Well, and I was on the commission when we did the COA for the other buildings.
Yes, sir.
And there was a significant discussion about the fact that they had to be brick, because there was some disagreement as to whether they would be covered under the meadows, but the certificate of appropriateness that was approved said they did have to be brick.
Yes, sir.
So what you guys are saying falls within the previous discussion that was had at the time, because there was some discussion of maybe not spending the money to do the brick, and that's what.
Certainly
precedent
understand, and, you know, we have to be good stewards with taxpayer money and what have you, but I think the intent was that the structures be brick.
On that photo, it'd be like right above where it says Google in the middle, bottom, somewhere up there, is that right?
Yeah, closer
Kinda
to
right.
maybe the dirt corner all the way to the left, the bottom left. Maybe a
somewhere
little
down,
bit further
okay.
to the right.
Okay.
And it does say a minimum of 50% visible from the public right-of-way shall be comprised of the natural stone and/or brick. So I guess if that tells you anything, if there was a version of this that included that.
Can, Michael, you may know this, can you do like a lean-to thing with the same green roof to put the equipment under, maybe? That
I
might
think
be a
so.
less expensive
There's not
thing
much,
that just
um,
keeps the weather off the equipment.
Right. Or if, I don't know if it's an option for us to get rid of the sides of it and leave it open, and then it would just be the metal roof with the frame. I don't know if that makes it more palatable.
You do the columns in brick
Yeah.
to support the roof line. That would look better than the temporary appearance.
Well, what,
If we did that, then I would want the roof to be the same material that's on the building and the same
Yeah.
color.
There will be a similar color. I don't want to say exactly because it's different manufacturer.
what we could do, this is just a suggestion, is we could deal with batting cages and the splash pad. We could, at the same time, say, look, Mr. Pollard's heard the discussion and ask that he come back with a different version based on what he's heard, and we could discuss that at the time.
I agree.
The other thing that I would say, and one thing just for full disclosure is, Mr. Wilson and I are members of the Rotary Club, and we've funded 50% of the splash pad, so I don't think that, I don't think we're self-interested, but at least that's full disclosure. I think the other thing, though, is, as we discuss this, it's based on the discussion we're having, as other things are added, like, for example, if there's an entrance to the splash pad or anything else that's added, I think it's important to know what we're saying here, so if there's additions to come back.
I think everything that has been done there literally is first class. And looks absolutely dynamite. Every individual that I've talked to is complimentary. I would envision the improvements going forward being of a similar nature. As far as the splash pad, the only question I've got is what materials? I mean, what's the base?
It's like a pour in place.
It's just a concrete, it's like a 6-inch concrete, reinforced concrete slab, and then they've just pre-plumbed all the stuff up.
Again, is there anything in the development agreement that directs us, should that concrete be stained to match some of the bottom portions of the block coming up in a tan or whatever that color is?
There is nothing in the agreement that really goes beyond upper level items, really related to buildings more than anything. Nothing even says that it needs to be paved or any of those types of things,
I
so.
think you'd want to match just the sidewalks, which just have white
Well,
curing
this is-
compound on them.
Okay.
So, and they would probably typically use white curing compound on that slab, I would think.
And the commission will have to excuse my questions in that I'm a newcomer.
No,
Yeah.
There's no
and,
problem.
Haven't had an opportunity to review some of the agreements, so.
So is the splash pad is for mostly little kids?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there, like if there were a gate entrance, it could be constructed out of brick with the fence butting out to it, or is it just a chain link fence?
I don't think it's fenced at all. It's open. It should just be open.
Really? Just
Most,
open?
most of them are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no,
The one at Steels Creek is.
yeah, there's no
part of it.
standing water. I mean, it's just literally water shooting out of
Okay.
And then
holes in the ground.
drains back.
I was thinking.
This
more in terms
this has
of-
been a long-term discussion between the Rotary Club and the town.
Yeah.
Well, I was just, the only one I've been to is the one in Jonesboro, and it's a little bit bigger scale. I didn't know, I don't know
Yeah, some
anything
of
about
them
it.
have, like, there's ankle deep water and stuff, but there should be no real.
Yeah, no, it should flow out.
Is the water recirculated?
No. It's not.
Yikes.
That's something we had to come back and do later on if we.
That's why my bill went up $10, right?
Not yet.
Are we gonna dig a well?
I think that's something that they were looking into. I haven't been involved on that side, but I talked to a guy who comes back and ends up putting recirculation tanks in some of these things, so it's always an option.
Maybe the service authority could then afford to fund the maintenance building too.
That would be cool.
Is the water's not on continuously though, it's only if people are
There's,
actually in there?
in that drawing, number 10.
The next one down, or-
No, the one
okay.
you're on now. Number
Okay.
10 there is like a button that you press.
Okay, yeah.
And it turns everything on.
Okay,
And we can adjust how long it runs or
okay.
times of the year, that kind of stuff.
And it doesn't show in that picture, but there will be benches for people to sit, which will be installed.
Actually, Jeff, going back to the concrete, a lot of them have like an epoxy, like a rubberized epoxy on them, so that color could be chosen. I'm not sure what the details if they're doing that or not, but be a non-skid.
How far do we go with this? You know, if there are gonna be benches, do we have to approve the color? You know, I'm not gonna be happy if they're UT only.
Well-
for example.
It says structures, so I would say that something that's more significant, and Kyle and I kind of talked about this a little bit, like what is a structure? So it seemed like, something of significance like this, or bleachers, but when it came down to benches, garbage cans, those types of things, it didn't seem like those really, there wasn't obviously a definition. We do have an attorney who might tell us what a structure is, but it didn't feel like those quite fell into that same realm.
I can tell you what the plan is, that they're metal and potentially wooden benches, but they're gonna have, the Rotary Club has a four-way test that's gonna be on them. There's gonna be an area where, when you come in, it'll show the Rotary motto. But they'll be pretty conservative. There's nothing particularly fancy about the benches.
So is that advertising?
Well, I would call that, personally as a Rotarian, I would call that community interest, but I expect the Kiwanians would not necessarily agree with that. All right, so
Mr.
what
Chair-
I'm,
Oh, go ahead.
what I'm thinking is, or what I'm hearing is, we need to, tonight, not deal at all with the building. Just say, come back with a design, and then I would entertain a motion for the splash pad and the batting cages. I think the batting cages particularly look like what's out there now.
It was part of the original
Yeah.
drawings.
So that's not gonna be
Do
any
we have
different.
a picture of those?
Not an actual picture, but there was a drawing of the plans.
I think I've seen them. That,
Are there batting cages there now, or this,
There are
okay, so,
no
this-
batting
okay.
cages
all right.
there right now.
But there are dugouts there which are similar in structure to the batting cages, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir, yep.
Yeah, that's what
so the
I,
structure's gonna be the same. The only thing we're talking about is the netting, but as far as the columns to support the roof line, everything of this nature, it's gonna be the same as the dugouts and the other improvements that are there.
Yes.
but that's mostly wood as opposed to anything else.
Okay.
You know, the dugouts
And I do know, we looked at some different options about the roof. The dugouts are shingles, everything else is a metal roof, and we've looked at options for the batting cages to be metal roof or shingles. The only difference there really for us is price, about $20,000 difference, but. And the batting cages aren't there, but they're already stubbed up for electricity, so you can.
But we're following the same, I mean, kind of what we're talking, we're following the same
Right.
appearance and nature of
Yes, sir.
what we have there, so I mean, that,
So I assume the metal's more,
Yes.
but the life cycle cost is less because it's gonna last longer. I think you can get a 30-year warranty on that versus, what, 20 for regular shingles?
And again, I would think that would be covered under the agreement as to all the roofing material, everything of this nature.
I don't know if it would be specific to that necessarily.
As far as the improvements. But, I mean, if it's the same as what's there, then,
if you're already using metal roofing
yes, sir.
and we're going back to the same concept, I guess that's kind of what we're trying to do is keep consistency to what's there already.
Yeah, and it does not say anything about the roof in any of these, in either the agreement or in the zoning ordinance. It says roof forms, maybe single gable, cross gable, hip parapet, and flat forms. There's not a description of the type. So
Yeah.
if it was in the old and historic district, then we'd be much more specific about it being
Standing seam, no
seam.
striations.
Correct.
Low gloss.
Low gloss, that's right. So, I mean, as long as the roof is consistent with what's there.
If
And
you want to
metal's
just add
there.
that to your motion, that probably would be good.
And in regards to the splash pad, we're just simply design and, I mean, this isn't really a motion as to whether we're gonna allow it or not. This is just simply a position of, is there any specific conditions to that, correct?
I think you would be adding the splash pad to the certificate of appropriateness, so that what we would be doing is saying that we extend the certificate of appropriateness that is there now to include the batting cages and the splash pad. It wouldn't, that's the way I would see it. And then the idea of the building that needs to be built will be brought back to us. That doesn't, I don't think, as long as it's not included in the motion that we're going to approve it, that we could approve the splash pad and the batting cages and not, I don't think we need to say anything at all about the building because we're not approving it. So that's.
And I'd also add the bleachers just to make sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the bleachers
yeah.
too.
Also, I guess technically the splash pad is under construction.
Yeah.
A little bit, like it's been started, but I guess the rain's kind of.
Yeah, so they were out there today. I'm not sure what they were doing, but.
All right, is there a motion?
You were.
Yes. I make a motion that we approve the COA as submitted relative to the batting cages, being consistent with the design of the other improvements there, in particular on the roof line. If the metal is there, then use metal. The bleachers being permitted as submitted, and then the splash pad.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay,
Bunch of people.
all right, Ms. Rice, if you would call the roll.
Sure. Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Pennington?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye.
We've been drugged out of the court, we voted against the splash.
Yeah, yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pollard. Okay, the next order of business is old business matters not on the agenda. I don't know if there's anything that needs to come at that point. Any announcements?
Just that we will be going downstairs to do our workshop here at 6:15.
So I guess we need to adjourn the meeting because we're not gonna be conducting any particular business downstairs other than discussing. So, I'd entertain a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's 6:10.